The day we opened the box on top of my father's wardrobe, my hands started shaking before we even removed the wrapper. Inside that box was the reason my father cried at night when he thought I was asleep. Inside that box was a child we never knew. And inside that box was the story that broke all of us. But let me go back to how that box ruled our house for years. My name is Chinedu. I am the last child of my father. I was the one that stayed back with him when everybody left. Our house in Aba was small and quiet. My father liked it that way. He did not like noise. He did not like plenty talking. Every morning he woke up before the sun, prayed softly, and sat on the edge of the bed like someone thinking deep thoughts. I used to watch him from my mat. On top of his tall brown wardrobe was a box wrapped with gold paper. The paper was old and weak, but the box was always neat. Nobody touched it. Not me, not my sisters when they came home for Christmas, not even my mother when she was alive. When I was small, I once asked my father what was inside the box. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said it was a birthday gift. I asked whose birthday? He said my own. I got happy and asked why he did not give it to me. He smiled small and said, one day. That one day never came. Years passed. My mother died. My sisters married and left. My brother moved to Lagos. I stayed because my father was getting old and sick. I cooked for him. I washed his clothes. I helped him walk when his legs became weak. Every year on his birthday, he looked at the box. He never touched it. Sometimes at night, I heard him breathing heavy, like someone crying but trying to hide it. If I asked him what was wrong, he would say nothing. One evening, his sickness became worse. He asked me to help him sit near the wardrobe. My heart beat fast. I thought today was the day. I climbed the stool and touched the box for the first time. My hand felt cooled. My father said, "Leave it." His voice was tired. "Help me back to bed." That night, I heard him cry clear. Not quiet like before, real crying. I sat on the floor and listened. I did not know what to do. 3 weeks later, my father died in his sleep. After burial, the house felt empty. My sisters came back. We started packing his things. When I brought down the box, everybody went quiet. Nobody spoke. The wrapper tore easily. Inside was not what we expected. That was when we all sat on the floor. And that was when I understood that the box was never for me alone.
When we opened the box well, nobody talked for a long time. The sitting room was quiet, like the house itself was listening. My elder sister knelt down first. She touched one notebook as if it would bite her. I was standing, but my legs were weak. I slowly sat down with them. Inside the box were notebooks arranged with care. Old pictures were placed inside nylon so they would not spoil. There was a small wristwatch. There were children's clothes, neatly folded. The clothes were not new again, but they were clean. They looked like something a father would keep safe, waiting for the right time. On top of everything was one brown envelope. It was sealed. My brother wanted to open it first, but my sister stopped him. She said we should start from the notebooks. I picked the first one. My father's handwriting was there. I know it because he used to write prayer points for me when I was in secondary school. The first page had words that made my chest tight. It said, "These letters are for the son I could not face." My head started spinning. Son? Which son? I started reading slowly. The words were simple. My father was talking to someone like he was talking to himself. He wrote about his youth, how he loved a woman before he married our mother, how his parents said no, how they told him to choose between family name and that woman. He wrote that the woman got pregnant. He wrote that he begged his parents to wait. They did not wait. They shouted at him. They threatened to send him away. He was young and afraid. He let the woman go. As I read, my tears dropped on the paper. My sisters were crying. My brother was looking at the floor. The next notebook talked about how he searched for them years later, how he found out the woman had a boy, how the boy looked like him from the small picture he saw, how his heart broke and healed at the same time. He wrote that he bought the gift on the day the boy was 10 years old. He wrote that he planned to travel and meet him. He wrapped the gift and kept it on the wardrobe so he would see it every day and gather courage. But courage did not come. He wrote that every year he said next year. Next year became many years. He wrote that fear can sit quietly in a man's heart and destroy his whole life without noise. My sister started sobbing loud. She said our father was not weak, he was just human. Then we opened the brown envelope. Inside was another letter, not from my father. It was from a hospital. It talked about a boy. It talked about accident. It talked about death at 16 years old. My ears were ringing. My brother held his head. My sister fell forward and cried like a child. That night, I did not sleep. I stayed on the floor with the box. I touched the clothes. I held the wristwatch. It was still ticking. That was when I understood why my father loved us quietly, why he was always afraid to shout, why he never liked wasting time. The box was not a secret. It was a wound. And all these years, I was sleeping under the same roof with it.
After that night, nothing in the house felt the same again. It was like somebody opened a door that should have stayed closed, and cold air entered everywhere. We moved around slowly. We talked softly. Even when we were hungry, nobody rushed to cook. The next morning, I woke up early like my father used to do. I sat on his bed and looked around. His slippers were still there. His cap was hanging on the wall. Everything was the same, but he was gone. I remembered how he used to sit on that same bed, staring at the wardrobe, like he was talking to something inside it. My sisters gathered in the kitchen. They were talking in low voices. I heard my brother say our father suffered too much. I heard my sister say he carried this pain alone and never told anybody. I carried the box back to my room. I did not want it to stay in the sitting room where visitors could see it. It felt like something private, something alive. That afternoon, my aunt came to visit. She was my father's younger sister. She sat down and asked why everywhere was quiet, like somebody died again. My brother told her about the box. When she heard, she covered her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears. She said she knew about the woman long ago. She said the family warned my father to forget her. She said they thought it was just small love that would pass. She said nobody knew a child came out of it. My heart was beating fast. I asked her why nobody checked on the woman. She said pride. She said fear. She said old people believe children should obey even when it hurts. She cried and said my father changed after that time. He stopped laughing loud. He stopped arguing. He just became calm. That night I went back to the notebooks. I read the last one again. My father wrote about the boy's last birthday he did not attend. He wrote about lighting candle in his shop and praying for a child he never touched. He wrote that every time he looked at me, he saw the boy face. He wrote that he tried to be a good father because he failed one already. Those words broke me. I cried until my chest was hot. I understood then that my father's love for me was mixed with guilt. He was loving two children at the same time, one alive, one gone. The next day we argued. My brother said we should tell nobody. He said it would bring shame. My sister said shame was already inside the house. I kept quiet. I was angry. Angry at fear. Angry at silence. I told them we should talk about him, the boy, our brother, even if nobody hears. That evening I took the wristwatch and wore it. It was big on my hand. It felt heavy. It felt like a promise. That night, I dreamt of a boy standing at the door of our house. He did not talk. He just looked at me like he was waiting. I woke up with tears. The box was no longer just my father's burden. It was ours now.
The day my siblings left Aba to return to their lives, the house became quiet again. But this time, it was a different kind of quiet. Not the peaceful one my father liked. This one was heavy. It pressed on my chest when I woke up and followed me around till night. I stayed back alone with the box. I placed it beside my father's bed. Every morning, I greeted it like I used to greet him. I swept the room. I cooked small food. I ate little. Sometimes I forgot to eat. One afternoon, rain fell without warning. The roof started leaking in my father's room. Water dropped close to the box. I rushed in and carried it away. My hands were shaking. It felt like I was saving a person. That was when it hit me hard. My father spent years protecting this box more than himself. He protected it from dust, from water, from curious hands. He was protecting a child memory, a life that ended too early. I sat on the floor and cried, not loud, the type of crying that does not make sound but leaves your eyes burning. I started reading the notebooks again, from the beginning to the end, every day. I knew some parts by heart. The way he described fear, the way he described shame, the way he said sorry to a child that would never read it. One evening, power went off. I sat in darkness. I remembered how my father used to sit like that, alone, thinking. I finally understood him. He was not a hard man. He was a scared man who chose peace over truth, and the peace cost him his joy. That night, I made a decision. I packed the notebooks back inside the box. I wrapped the clothes properly. I cleaned the wristwatch and placed it on top. I wrote a small note with my own handwriting. I said, "You are not forgotten. You are part of us." The next morning, I went to my father's church. I met the pastor and told him everything. He listened without stopping me. He prayed for my father's soul. He prayed for the boy. He prayed for us. When I came back home, I felt lighter. Weeks passed. I started talking about the boy inside my prayers. I called him my brother. I asked God to forgive my father's fear. One day, I climbed the stool and put the box back on top of the wardrobe. But this time, it was not hiding. It was resting. I understood that my father did not open the gift because opening it meant facing his past, facing his mistake, facing himself. Some people do not run from fire. They sit beside it until it burns them slowly. That night, I slept well for the first time since my father died. The box was still there, but the weight in my heart was less.
Months passed. Life outside kept moving, but inside the house, time moved slowly. I started going back to my normal routine. I woke early, I swept the compound, I went to work and came back before dark. Sometimes I still caught myself listening for my father's footsteps. One evening, while cleaning the wardrobe, I noticed the gold wrapper had almost torn completely. Dust had settled on it. The ribbon was weak. The box looked tired. I stood there for a long time. I remembered the first day my father told me it was my birthday gift. I remembered his eyes. They were not lying. He just did not tell the full truth. I carried the box down again. This time, I did not call anybody. I sat on the floor alone. I opened it slowly, not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to respect what it carried. I took out the clothes. I folded them better. I held the wristwatch and wore it again. It was still working. I smiled small. I read the notebooks one last time. I did not cry. I felt calm. Then I did something my father could not do. I opened all the pages and read them aloud. Not shouting, not hiding. I read them like a confession, like a prayer. I spoke the boy's name when I reached it. I did not skip any part. When I finished, the room felt different, like something had been released. I packed everything back inside the box, but I did not wrap it again. I placed it inside the wardrobe, not on top. That night, I dreamt again. This time, the boy was not standing outside. He was sitting inside the house. He was smiling. In the morning, I went to the market. I bought a small frame. I placed my father's picture inside. Beside it, I wrote one line on paper and put it behind the frame. "We remember you all." I hung it on the wall. The house did not feel empty anymore. I understood then that my father did not fail because he did not love. He failed because he was afraid. Fear is a quiet thing.
It does not shout, it just waits. I decided I would not live like that. If I love, I will speak. If I am wrong, I will face it. I will not keep gifts on top of wardrobes until they turn into regrets. Sometimes at night, I still touch the wristwatch and think of my brother. I think of my father. I forgive them both. The gift was never opened by the man who bought it, but it finally reached the house it was meant for. And that is how our silence ended.